Hi, I'm Khleif. Each and every week, I record an interview with a thought leader that I know you're going to get a ton of value from. Now, here on YouTube are the video versions of my podcast, Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. Now, to make sure you get the latest information, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. I know you're going to get tremendous value from the dynamic gentleman that we're interviewing today. His name is Chris Hogan. He's a best-selling author. In fact, we're going to dig into his latest book. He's got an incredible podcast, and we're gonna share that with you as well. And without further ado, let's get into it. Chris, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. So. I know that you've got a successful podcast and you speak about becoming a millionaire. So maybe you can share a little bit of background, and then I'd love to dig in and talk about this latest book that you wrote.
Sure. Well, I'm a former athlete, so I'm a firm believer in the power of your mentality and your outlook on things, but also the importance of setting goals and striving for them. I believe in keeping score. I think it's imperative that we understand where we are and know where we come from, but ultimately to understand that our effort determines everything. And so regardless of what phase or stage you're in life, better is always available.
Love it. Yeah, no, I teach my coaching students. We go through this my live events and on my coaching program a whole goal setting framework, and it's the first thing we do, because if you don't know what it is you want, and as importantly why you want it, it's never going to happen. And I love what you said about keeping score. If you're not measuring as you're going, how well do you know how you're doing? And how do you change your approach if it needs to be changed if you're not measuring? So absolutely love it. So let's get right into your book, Chris. So it's titled Everyday Millionaires. I know you did a huge study and you studied millionaires. So please tell us about it.
Yeah, we did. I had the opportunity to do some media hits all around the country, and I'll remember it was a year and a half ago that I did this hit, and a guy made the statement that the American dream was dead and gone. And I remember looking at him, and I couldn't get near him enough to grab him and shake him. But I just remember thinking, why on earth would you say that lie? And so it got me started into digging in. And I'm really aware of, the power of the spoken word. And to put that out there for someone to start to believe that, then it kind of adjusts their effort. So I set out to prove, Mr. Stanley did the Millionaire Next Door. And they talked to almost 800 millionaires back in the 90s. And I wanted to go big. I wanted to do the largest study that's ever been done. So we talked to over 10,000 from all across the country to really dig in and find out the truth. Is the American dream alive and well, or is it dead and gone? And are these millionaires just the recipients of a trust fund where they just handed this money, or did they earn it? And that's what we were able to prove.
No kidding. Wow. 10,000. Holy cow. You must have had a whole team working on it for a period of time.
Rod, we absolutely did. We started off and it started growing, and we eventually had to reach out and use a research firm to begin to collect and cull all the data that was necessary to really dig into this. So it was a massive project, but I'm very proud of what the team has done in the end result.
It's crazy. It's so crazy because, the way the universe works, because I literally was just telling coaching students today on one of my coaching calls about Stanley's book. And it was really networking with millionaires. But the fact that you referenced this is like, man, this is crazy that I haven't thought about it in 10 years. So, it's been around a long time. So I can't, wait to dig into yours a little more here. So tell us, I know that there are a lot of myths around financial success, around becoming a millionaire. We've all, money doesn't grow on trees. Let's talk about some of the myths that you discovered in your research.
Yeah. Well, the first one I'll hit on is something I already kind of teased, and it was talking about this. People believe that millionaires inherited all their money.
Right.
And in talking to them, we found in our study that 79% of the millionaires did not inherit one dime.
Wow.
Not one dime. So these were not trust fund babies. These were first generation wealth builders that had built wealth over time. And so I love the thought of that, because we oftentimes forget that we live in the greatest country on the planet. And I'm severely biased, but we have an opportunity to make a decision and start to try all within the same hour. Right? We don't need anyone's permission. We can do it. And so it just goes to show that hardworking men and women out there are able to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's what drives what we do here as well. And it's so true. I mean, it's a small percentage, and even out of that 21% that may have inherited some money, chances are they took something, did something with it. They may not have they didn't inherit the millions. They may have just got something, but we are in the greatest country on earth. I mean, I immigrated here, and I can be a poster child for the United States Chamber of Commerce, because I totally believe in it, just like you do. So let's talk about myth number 2. People think that you have to have a high-paying W-2 job to even have a chance of becoming a millionaire. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that's another thing people believe. And so they always, if you believe that you have to have a high-paying job and you don't have one, then you think you're excluded. But the truth is, we found a third of the millionaires never had a 6-figure household income. A third of them.
Wow.
And the key word in this, Rod, is household income. That means if 2 of them were working, they didn't make 6 figures. So it's not about the income that you make. It's about what you do with the money and the mindset you have around it.
So let's talk about what it is about. Let's talk about the key points that someone should focus on to, that you discovered in your research that someone should focus on if they want to have financial independence and be a millionaire.
Yeah, I found in doing this research, I found that there were 5 key attributes. The first one was that millionaires take personal responsibility. They're not looking to blame anybody. If they've achieved something or haven't achieved, it rests with them. And I love that, because that's the anti-victim mentality in our culture.
Thank you. And let me add this. And it's not 99% responsibility. It is 100% responsibility. You've got to own it. It doesn't matter what happens to you. You have to own it. Love it. What's the next?
Yeah, the next one was that millionaires practice intentionality with their finances. That means that when money comes in, they're aware of it and they're absolutely clear on what they're going to do with it. And that's going down to budgeting, investing, saving, and really starting to be intentional. And I like that, because they don't fritter away money, they use it.
Yeah. And guys, I know your partner, Dave Ramsey, speaks to this as well. You've got to have buckets, and you've got to have a growth bucket. You've got to have a rainy day bucket, stuff hit the fan bucket, a security bucket, as it were. And you're right. You've got to be prudent about your finances. I love it. And so you describe it as intentionality. Great way to describe it. Love it.
It is. And the next one, you're absolutely going to agree with me. Millionaires are goal-oriented. Right? Question. They set goals. And Rod, one of the things I realized as we talk about goal setting in our country today, one of the things people leave out is the absolute necessity of sacrifice. Right? If you're going to go after some things, you're going to have to give up some other things. And it's important for people to do that consciously.
Yeah, it's guys, sometimes it's not what you're doing. It's what you have to give up to accomplish. You're right. It's the sacrifice. And I believe in goals. Chris, that's one of the biggest things, in my opinion, that you have to have. They drive you. They propel you. They pull you. They push you. And they have to be clear and measurable and concise. Love it. All right. So what else?
The next one is that these millionaires are hard workers. That means they're very focused when they're doing their job. Guess what? They're doing their job. They're not scared to dig in and to go further if they want to go faster. And, it's that mindset. And then the final one was that these millionaires know that wealth building requires consistency over time. It's not something you do some of the time. It's got to be an all the time thing.
Love it. On the hard workers, guys, it's massive action. It is massive freaking action. It's not gonna fall in your lap. There is no easy road, and that's okay. If you're doing something you love, then work is play. But you got to take massive action. The comfort zone is a warm place, but nothing grows there. You got to actually push through comfort. You got to push through fear. You got to push through limiting beliefs. And the consistency piece. Yeah, you're going to get your nose bloody. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to, and you're going to have things happen. You're going to have obstacles. But as long as you know what your goals are, you keep those in your mind's eye. When you get hit, you change your approach and go after the goal. You get hit again, you change your approach, you go after the goal. And you remain consistent. Love it. Love it. Freaking love it.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's you put all these five together, right? Personal responsibility, intentionality with finances, goal-oriented, hardworking, and wealth building requires consistency. These are things that we all can decide to start to do now, right? You don't need any fancy degree. Matter of fact, 62% of these millionaires went to a public state university, 8% went to a community college, 9% didn't go to college at all. So there's not an exclusion about you being able to build wealth. It's a matter of you including yourself in your beliefs and your actions.
I love it. I love it. And guys, of course, learning is earning, I tell people I've got a PhD in results. I never went to college, I just made it happen. And that's not to say I'm not well read. I've got a library in one of my other buildings here with thousands of books in it. I mean, I believe in reading, but there really is, there's no excuse, frankly. There's just no excuse. So what can people do to start down this path, my friend? Want more. Everybody listening to my show wants more. I don't care if they've already got 1,000 doors, they want more. So what can they do to start on this path?
Well, I think there are three things you can do that are absolutely essential. Number one is belief. You need to understand what it is that you believe is possible for you. And we have to be careful because our families can put limits on us. Our friends can put limits on us. And my gosh, we can even put limits on ourselves. So I want people to analyze what you believe is possible. Number two, I want you to grow your knowledge. Rod, I know you're a coach at heart and you're constantly reading and learning, but it's important for all of us out there to start to understand things better, really grow our knowledge. There are all kinds of resources that are available to us at our fingertips. And the third thing is take the appropriate action. That means if you're serious about building wealth, then you need to be intentional about what you're earning and looking for opportunities.
Yeah. Love it. And just to circle back to belief, the first one, we all many of us grow up with some limiting belief systems that hold us back. I'm not good enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not, articulate enough. And, there's a reason BS rhymes with belief systems, the acronym, okay? Because 99% of them are BS, okay? Right. And so, but you've got to develop a belief, and sometimes you fake it till you make it even, okay? So that's awesome on the first one. Learning, we are totally in alignment on growing your knowledge, no question on that, and then massive freaking action. Love it. So what I know in your book you have a phrase called net worth millionaire. So can you define what that means?
I sure can. So, I'm using the banking industry before I got to be helpful to learn to do math, meaning understanding net worth as I look at it is what you own minus what you owe. And so you look at that. So all the assets you have, the money in your bank account, the 401k, the 403b, your real estate portfolio, whatever it is, add it up, subtract out what you owe. If the end result is $1 million or more, then congratulations, you're an everyday millionaire.
Love it. Okay. So, while you were interviewing these 10,000 people, you must have heard story after story after story, and I'm sure there were some amazing stories. Can you speak to some of you maybe share a compelling story or two that you really stand out?
Yes, I really can. I keep telling people, it doesn't matter where you come from, it's about where you're going. And Thomas's story is absolutely one of those. He grew up in the Midwest, and this guy had a tough childhood. His father was an alcoholic. His mother suffered from mental health issues. He was in and out of 3 or 4 foster homes growing up. But despite that upbringing, he still went on to serve in the military, came back, pursued his degree in college, became a professor, worked in the education world. He said he wanted to impact other young people to help them believe in what was possible. And this guy ended up with a net worth of almost $2.8 million when it was all said and done. But if you would have met him when he was young, you would have thought this guy is not going to amount to anything. And this is just a prime example of someone not allowing their circumstances to get in the way of their opportunity.
I love it. I love it. And I mean, if he was a professor, he got his PhD as well. So he did 8 years of schooling come from foster care to go to there. I mean, that's that's a decision, and that's a vision, and that's a commitment, and that's a not giving up and focusing on that vision. I freaking love it. Do you have any others?
Well, there's another one. Pam was another lady, and hers, her story, she struggled with money growing up, but her dad was hardworking. He taught her about money. He was very in tune. She went to work to save for college. And here's the deal. She worked and paid for her degree as she had the money. She refused to go into debt. It took her 11 years before she graduated from college, but she graduated at age 31 with her degree. She had bought a home, went through some life, had a divorce, ended up losing a lot of money through the divorce, but she still stayed focused, grew her business back up, and she's someone that has a net worth of close to $3 million as well. And so I love her story because she didn't avoid adversity in life. The problem is she overcame it. And that takes a mindset and a belief system deep down inside of you that says, I refuse to be held back.
I love it, man. I love it. I have such respect for like single moms and people that, like these two stories that didn't get, it relates to me. I grew up wearing Goodwill clothes through junior high school and it resonates with me. Let me ask you this. If you could go back and well, let's just say this, our school system doesn't teach people this. It's such a travesty that you don't learn basic financial competence in school. If you could, teach something in school, would it be, I would guess it would be financial competence. Yes. Or what else might you want to, teach in school?
Well, I think, a firm believer that young minds are impressionable and we don't know the home systems people come in and out of. I'm a product of a single parent home. So I would definitely teach the financial side. But Rod, I would also take it a step further and start to teach about positive thinking and goal setting. I think these three areas of finances, goal setting, and positive thinking, these are things that can impact young people and have a ripple effect for years to come.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No question. Well, what would you say is the best advice you've ever received, Chris?
My grandmother told me back when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do after college. I remember I had a few options and I was sitting at her kitchen table and she came in and she listened to it and she made this statement. She goes, honey, you got some things to think about. She goes, I just want to encourage you to grab the opportunity and avoid the chances. And she strolled out of the kitchen. And that opportunity versus chance has stayed with me my entire life, where you look at things and you want to do something that leads you somewhere, right? You don't want to do something that's 50-50 or 70-30. I want to make decisions that put me in a better position.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So who inspires you, my friend?
Oh, I'm inspired by so many people. I'm blessed. My youngest son is a special needs boy. So he inspires me. But I'm going to tell you, the hardworking men and women that are out there, especially single moms, coming from a single parent home, when I meet single moms that are working hard and doing what it takes to make ends meet, it lets me know that I don't have an excuse, right? Yeah. An excuse is the skin of a lie wrapped with a reason. That's one of my football coaches told me that. And I don't want to make excuses. I want to make progress.
Tell me one or two of your favorite quotes.
Oh, goodness gracious. If it is to be, it's up to me. I love that one. I love Zig Ziglar. Like Zig had an incredible impact on my life. But I love Zig say, avoid stinking thinking, right? And his thinking, he's talking about the negative attitude. And I love that.
Love it. Love it. I got blessed to see him just before he passed. Yeah. What a gift he was to the universe.
Yes.
So, let me ask you this. How did you get over your fear? I mean, you were in pro ball. I mean, that's a pretty exalted place to end up. How did you get over your fear of pushing forward on these things that you want in life? Look at you. You've got an incredibly successful podcast. It's called the Chris Hogan Show, correct? I want to make sure.
That is correct. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Show. I mean, killing it. But you got to push through fear. How were you able to push through fear?
Well, I tell you, I was fortunate enough. I only played college. I didn't play pro. I worked with a lot of those pro guys. But here's the deal. I was able to get over fear because of coaches. I know you coach your listeners and your clients to the best of your ability. And I grew up with athletic coaches and family members and teachers, people that see something inside of you that push you, care about you. And that's something I don't ever want to stop learning. I don't want to ever stop trying to grow. And so that has taught me that it's okay to try. And I'm even okay to fail because I think like a scientist. I try and try and try. I'm never finished.
Yeah, never fear failure. The only time it's a failure is if you stop, you don't get the lesson. That's the bottom line. I call them seminars. I've had tons of seminars. So let me ask you this, just two last questions. How do you define success?
I define success by how I'm able to impact other people's lives. And that is from taking the time to listen, taking the time to dig in and help a charity or to give resources. The impact is how I define success.
Oh, I love it. What a great definition. So last question, is there a book, obviously your own books, but other than your own books that you gift more often than any other?
Yeah, actually, Dr. Henry Cloud is one of my favorite authors. He's a good friend. He co-wrote the book Boundaries, he and Dr. Townsend. And it's just talking about that it's important to have boundaries in your life. But he wrote another book, Rod, and I'm going to send you a copy. It's called Necessary Endings. This book is amazing because he's talking about in order for us to begin some things, we've got to identify things we're going to stop doing to allow us to do the things we want to do.
Just like we talked about in Sacrifice. Yeah. I love it, my friend. Listen, you've added tremendous value. Guys, check out his podcast, The Chris Hogan Show. Get his book, Everyday Millionaire. Thanks for being on the show and giving us your valuable time, my friend.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Take care, buddy. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you listen to podcasts, join me on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to those podcasts. Just search for Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing.
Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws.